Hey guys, welcome back. We are here ready to go for tonight's pre-show for the vice presidential debate. I think we can all agree the last round of the presidential debates, kind of insane. For the pre-show today, we've got Schumann and Dustin's going to join us here in a little bit. But Shu, welcome to the pre-show, and glad we can sit down and we are going to pre-critique. I think we'll say the debate.
Yeah. Predict maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we are Christians, we're going to prophesy.
I like that. That's what we're going to do. I need to bring out a rug or something.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that. So obviously last time, we had the live stream for the presidential debate and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like with that, I think we all left it kind of like, what the heck just happened right now, and how is this all going to play out? What's your takeaway from the presidential debates now that you've had a little time to process it?
So it's horrible, but I've actually watched the debate like 3 times because I got a couple commentators and a couple people that I like to listen to, and I like to gain thoughts from all over the sides. And I have some really good friends of mine that all my friends are political junkies, so it's awesome because we all get to discuss all this stuff together, and then everybody kind of gives in their own viewpoint and everything. I walked away feeling like it was a giant failure because I was so focused on trying to reach the people that were out in the middle of the crowd, like the suburban moms and everything like that. And I figured that's who he would try to get votes from, is because that's really all that's left. Like, you have the 2 bases and everything, right? Well, I got talking with a couple of my buddies, and my perspective actually kind of changed a little bit. To what if, instead of trying to go and reach out for the votes that are unclaimed yet, what if they were just trying to erode on some of the bases that were happening? We saw Joe Biden, he ended up actually coming out in defense of the police, and he declined any recognition of the Green New Deal. And when I went on Twitter after the debate, a lot of people were like, on the Biden side and everything, we're like, is Joe Biden a Republican? Like, what's going on? And if Trump's tactic was to erode the base, and that's why he was so boisterous and loud to get him off his thinking, and Joe Biden was still attempting to get the less votes, so therefore he had to be more moderate, it ended up kind of eroding away at some of maybe his base to show up to vote, because now the hardcore leftists no longer have their crazy far left, even though he is spewing out his nonsense, and he's actually compromising on some of their hardcore ideological views. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective, and if that was the goal, I still don't think it was pretty, but I at least understand what happened and why maybe a little more.
Yeah, what was interesting to me with that presidential debate was that Trump, I feel like Trump treated it like he did the debates in 2016, right? I mean, it's Trump. Mm-hmm. Trump's going to do what Trump does. It's, he's a wrecking ball when it comes to debates. He's
right.
he's not going to sit there and debate the minute little details of a policy. Like, for example, Democrats, Republicans have been fighting for decades. How are we going to deal with the illegal immigration? And he comes in and he's just like, I'm going to build a wall. I don't need a 47-point plan. I'm just going to build a wall. And it's like that's kind of like how he was. And so I feel like with the Republicans in that primary last time around, it was Rand Paul and Ted Cruz would have their 47-point plan to peace in the Middle East, and Trump's just comes in like a wrecking ball and like Lion Ted, name calling. And there was a contrast between Trump and them. Same thing with Hillary. Right. Hillary tried to come in and she tried to be like a philosophical, here's what we're going to do and here's why. And Trump just comes in and he's like, Hillary, I'm just going to lock you up. And I feel like with Biden, there wasn't anything for him to really go at, because Biden wasn't coming in as a philosopher or as, with a plan. He has no plan. He doesn't even understand what's listed on his website. He's not for Green New Deal, but his platform is the Green New Deal. So there was nothing for Trump to come in.
Do you think that kind of helps him, though?
That helps Trump or Biden?
No, it helps Biden that he doesn't have a plan.
Oh, yeah. Because then,
sorry, go ahead.
Because then he's a chameleon. Then he can fit in with whatever scenario. If you have a plan, and this was the brilliant thing about Trump in 2016. He always talked in general terms, big ideas. He would not allow himself to get pinned down to a particular minute detail, and that gives you room to debate and to change your position and to negotiate.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of what I've seen in regards to when Biden or even Harris get asked, are you going to pack the court, or are you going to get rid of the filibuster? They're all like, those aren't the issues we need to be focusing on right now. Right now, we need to be talking about Trump. And at first, obviously, I was like, you're an idiot. Like, these are the issues that need to be voted on. But it's super smart, because Trump is a very egotistical man. Like, he just is, okay? And everybody kind of knows it, and he likes the spotlight when it's on him, even if it's in a negative light. He blows it up, right? He spits in the face of the establishment, which is why so many people love him. But not everybody likes that. And Joe Biden can literally go hide in his basement. I mean, he's called a lid forever before the main debates. And as long as the focus is on Trump, other people can't get a word, or other people can't get a word in edgewise, and Trump's the only one talking. And they find out that he can. That's why, like, the last debates, I was like, dude, just give Biden a chance to talk. Just let him shoot himself in the foot or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the one thing that I will say, though, is that I think had there been, and I don't want to make excuses for Trump by any means, because he definitely should have handled that differently. But had there been an actual debate, because that was not debate. That was not a debate.
Right.
Chris Wallace's questions were insane. Like when I went back and I was watching some of the questions he was asking, they were super broad, super general, things where it's complex and you have to have time to be able to break them down. Like, whereas if you're a good moderator, you would come in with something specific, minute, that the two can debate and do that in 2-minute segments. But you can't do that. And so that went against Trump, because he never had the opportunity to override Biden. There was a few times I thought Trump had Biden, and then Chris Wallace bailed him out. There was a few times when he had the perfect opportunity to explain his position, but then they ran out of time. It's like, it was a bad scenario, to be fair.
It was an absolutely trash debate, and mainly because of the moderator. I mean, it was obnoxious. Shoot, I can't remember. I think it's the months debates or something like that. But everybody has an opening statement, and they talk for 7 minutes, and it's no uninterrupted. And then they go around the horn again, and it's 2 minutes uninterrupted to react to what was just said. After those 2 minutes are up, you get another round the horn to rebuttal any of those, and then it's on to the next topic. That's a really, really, I'm not saying it's the perfect structure, but that's a really good structure to be able to give everybody their word, rebut the ideology, and then, I guess, rebut that, opposing view or narrative that was pushed to establish your view again. And that never happened. But again, like you said, the questions were so broad. Like, you can't just be like, racism, tell me what you think. And it's like, bro, like, there are so many avenues that can go down. And what do you want to drill on? Do you want to go down to the systemic racism? If it's systemic racism, in what system do you see it? Do you see it in, like, your police force, or are you seeing it in the colleges, or like Yale, and stuff like that with that investigation, which I just love. And then, or is it in, like, movies and culture? Because the left owns all that anyway, but you could have narrowed it down to discuss one of those views, and then one of them would have had to have been a view that could actually be legislated. You can't just talk about how people feel on a cultural issue, because we as individuals are in control of the culture. We need to control that. We need to take ownership of that. That is not something that should be determined by the government. And then, based upon our culture and how we act on our moralities and how we live day to day, then we elect people to reflect our morality. We don't have the government impose morality on us. We impose morality upon the government. And I think skipping policies, skipping the details and everything like that you miss that entire point directly, because presidents are not kings.
That is a shocker. I feel like we need that t-shirt or something. Presidents are not kings, governors are not kings. It's it's reality. The one thing that I'll say too about these debates is that what I wish that they would do would not cover. I wish that they would have, let's say, a couple more debates, but each debate is on one topic, and then you have an hour and a half to flush out that topic. And the moderator's job is to start the conversation and then just try to keep it to where they're not interrupting each other, and then they can follow each other's train of thought and literally duke it out for an hour and a half on immigration, duke it out for an hour and a half on systemic racism, and just fight it. I feel like that would be so much more beneficial than, guys, come on. I'm asking the question. You have 1 minute to answer and get your zingers in. Like, I feel like that would be more beneficial.
Yeah, boom. 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
The opposing guy is Mike, muted, gone. He's not even a part of the thing. Okay? Let that guy talk. And then when it's his turn, mute the other dude's mic, turn his on. Let it go. And that's because when you try to have, like, when Chris Wallace was like, we're an open debate now, that is like the dumbest thing ever, because if it's open, they're just going to talk over each other, and whoever's loudest is going to prevail. I would be okay with an open debate if there was no time limits. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Because you can't have an open debate if you're giving each side 2 minutes. However, if it was an hour and a half, the moderator could just be trying to silence one side or the other if they're interrupting and whatever it is. But I think at times it's important to be able to jump in.
Do you think it would devolve into just senseless name calling?
I mean, that's part of the fun, right?
I guess. Right.
I didn't think that there was enough Sleepy Joes.
Right? No, and so I want to kind of get your thoughts on this, because I think that this VP debate is extremely weird, because I really don't think that Joe Biden will live. I mean, by all means, I hope he dies, but I don't think he'll live throughout his whole term, and probably not the second term. So Kamala Harris, in reality, is probably the next president that we're electing right now. So really, I could see this debate being the presidential nominee versus the vice president.
Yeah. And
it's an odd dynamic. It's something we really haven't had, because, I mean, he's old, man. I think he's 82.
Or I want to say he's like 78 or something like that. High 70s, I think.
Is he? Okay.
Might be.
But even so, so if he's 78, then it puts him at 82, and then it's 86 after the second term, which I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, that's nuts. Like, people, I don't even know what's the average age is. I think it's 78, isn't it?
Something like that.
Or male?
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't be electing older people like that. Like, I'm just afraid of him going up against, like, these debates are fine, great, they're intense and all that good stuff. But imagine when, more is on the line, when he's trying to talk to Putin and he's getting pushed all over by him. And, Putin's a strong, hardcore, stone cold killer, and trying to see Joe Biden come up against somebody like Putin, we're just going to be the laughing stock of the country again. I mean, he's got no guts. He's got no backbone. He has no plans for anything. And as soon as Putin comes out and, says, well, I'm going to do this, Joe Biden's just going to be like Obama was. Okay, go ahead. Or here's some pellets of cash.
Yeah, I mean, well, and this is one of my biggest things about the difference between Biden and Trump, right? Is that people on the left that I'll talk to or whatever it is, one of the biggest reasons why they don't like Trump is because of his personality. And, they want that Obama-esque figure of being empathetic, could have a tear in his eye, see his lip quiver, if there's a tragedy, where they feel like he's got your back, he's going to give you a hug if he ever saw you, kind of a thing. And I feel like that's what they want in a president. Whereas Trump's more the guy that's like, I'm just going to get it done. I don't care whose feelings I hurt. I'm just gonna get the job done. And I think that when it comes to negotiations with foreign dictators and enemies and potential enemies, I would rather have the Trump guy on my side than
Right.
Joe Biden. Like, I don't see how anybody could think that Joe Biden would be better on foreign policy and talking to dictators than Donald Trump. Yeah, go ahead.
If you read through any of his foreign policies back in the prior years of him in the Senate and everything, they're complete trash, and they just fell apart at the beginning. It's like, now you want this guy whose policies have never been pushed. Like, he has done nothing in his career except for his crackdown on crime, which he's now trying to back away from because he wants to appease the left in their defunding of the police. But every other policy besides that has been a complete and utter failure. The only reason why he's in this position is because he was Obama's wingman.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Now then the question is because like you're saying, like, to a certain degree, from a policy standpoint, this is probably going to impact Americans more than the Trump Biden, primarily because it's a fight between the Trump team, which we all know Mike Pence is kind of Trump's yes man, so pretty much anything he says is representative of Trump, and then the person who will actually be making the decisions if Biden becomes president. And so, what's your prediction for how this is going to go? Do you think Mike Pence can hold his own? Do you think Kamala Harris is going to run all over him? Do you think she understands enough policy to actually do anything? What do you think?
I really think that this is going to be a win tonight for the Republican Party, just because Mike Pence is, I mean, look at how much they attacked him for, he hates gays, and when he went to that school, that church or whatever, a while back, and he got it criticized a lot, and he never blew up. Like, he never went on camera and was like, it's like fake news or anything like that. Like, he held it together. He was professional. He just brushed it off. He's like, yeah, they can say whatever they want. That's fine. And when Mike Pence speaks, he's very articulate. He's very policy driven. Anything that he says each word is well placed and is kept in line. I think he's going to be. Trump was a bombastic character that was put up on stage last week. Now we're going to get to the policy issues. Mike Pence is going to be a lot better at bringing that part of the debate out and that part of the Republican Party out. Not just the president, but what the party itself stands for. Because this election truly is more about the party than what it is even about the presidential. I mean, the Senate is hugely important this year, too. Got to hold the Senate in the House, try to get the House back, I guess. And then in regards to Kamala Harris, she is a really bombastic character. She flip-flops on a bunch of things she doesn't like to give a hardcore answer on. A lot of issues that came up, we saw her flip-flop a bunch in the primaries. She called Joe Biden racist. She throws out all these crazy things, and she gets a feel for it, and then she reels back if it gets too intense. She's a very clever person in that way. She's a smart liar. And I think it'll be a bunch of lies and deceit. But, I mean, she's a witch, dude. How she puts things together, she is good at it. And I think it will be interesting, but I think she does have more of a bombastic personality. And I think that is what will kill her. She is extremely unlikable. She dropped out of the primaries before her own state even got to vote because she knew that she would crash and burn in her own state. So I think tonight it's going to be a huge win for Pence and Kamala, but whether the American people see it as an important debate with Kamala potentially being the president, if anything happens to Joe Biden, which I think is the most likely case, or if they just blow over it like another VP debate that doesn't really matter because the VPs really don't have any power except for being a yes man.
Yeah. Well, I think what'll be interesting is depending on how the Senate goes, if it ends up being like a 50-50 split, then the VP would be that deciding vote in anything
Absolutely.
like that. So that's important. That's something that we do need to remember. I feel like the benefit of tonight's debate specifically is that I think the biggest problem with the Donald Trump response to COVID-19 was just Trump's personality and that he talks off the cuff, which I think in a lot of instances plays well to him. But when it comes to the details and the science and the medical, issues and all that kind of stuff, I think that is where the bad press and the legit critique, I think, where it was actually fair, kind of fell into place. Really quick before I keep going, I'm going to patch in Dustin because Dustin is ready to roll. Let's see here. Dustin, we are live. Are you coming in? I think. Let's see. It says he's joined. Let's see. No video yet. Dustin,
there he is.
There we go. We see it. Dustin, we are live. How's it going, man?
It's going great. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. I'll just finish my thought and then I'll get to you, Dustin. Okay. So I think when it comes to Trump and the and his response to COVID-19, again, his weakness was dealing with the details, and that's where people like Biden and Kamala come in, and they're like, it's because of Trump and his rhetoric that hundreds of thousands of people have died. I think that the thing is that they overgeneralize, but tonight in the debate we have the guy who was in charge of the task force talking. And we know that Mike Pence, he understands the details. He understands exactly what happened. So they can say, look, this is your fault why this happened. He's like, actually, no, because we did X, Y, and Z. We did A, B, and C. We did this in order while you guys were doing this. I think if we had an opportunity to win the debate over COVID-19, tonight would be it. So, okay, so that's my take on what's going to happen tonight. Dustin, So Shu and I have already dealt with our response to last time around with the president. I want to know your prediction for tonight between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris.
Excuse me. Okay, I believe we're going to see a totally different debate tonight, far different from what we've seen on the last one. And here's why. We've already got these coming in. They're being distanced not on an original agreed upon 7 feet. They're going to be 12 feet apart, okay? Then I think they're going to have this plexiglass in between them. Yep. I'm not looking at it right now, but this is what I've heard and been educated on. So it already has this aura about it that it's almost like talking to one another through the prison plexiglass, right? So everybody in the audience is already being enforced to wear masks, but not the people on stage. Secondly, I don't know if anybody's talked about this, but I just heard you mention about Biden being up on the task force. Now, that's important because we're going to have that hurled at him throughout, because this is the only thing that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are really publicly in agreement on. They're very cohesive about this matter, and that is to throw the COVID-19 response at the president, as they've been doing since February. The whole Democrat platform, and given the way everything is now, with people who have been conditioned to be afraid of this issue, that's something that they want to stand on. So you're going to be hearing them accuse them of this, especially now that you have Trump coming out of the hospital, removing his mask because he tested for positive. You have Kylie testing for positive. You have one of the head of security there who's actually in the hospital, and he's not doing well, according to them, with the COVID-19. He's very, very sick. And, this is the guy, I can't remember his name, but this is the guy who handles all of the security clearances. I think he's an older guy, so that matters a lot there. Mm-hmm. Second of all, Kamala is well practiced when she's in her own area, and that is when she has the media behind her. Who do we have moderating the debate tonight? From USA Today, Sarah, right? Sarah Page, correct? This is somebody who's going to be able to take up for Kamala when she starts to stumble. And if you watch anything on Kamala, when she's put under heat, she does stumble. Why? Because she doesn't have the courage of convictions, because she doesn't have convictions. She's always trying to lie. Kamala is a practiced liar. Her whole life is a lie. So what's going to happen there is she's going to be rescued on that. Is Kamala a good speaker? Absolutely. I've watched her. I think she's very polished in her speaking capabilities. I believe that she does argue very well when she is in front of somebody that she can try and push against the wall. She has a bully pulpit, and she loves her bully pulpit. I think that she's really going to come at Vice President Pence with this COVID issue, with the issue of them not taking care of the people during this issue. They're going to be trying to talk about some stimulus tonight. I assure you that's going to be the debate. I don't think any good questions are going to be answered of Kamala. That's why it's going to be important for Vice President Pence to be able to get it tossed to her to where she's put on the spot about it. But be rest assured, though, that Sarah is going to rescue Kamala all the time. She's always rescued. And she'll do this laugh that she always does. She does this really silly laugh when she's trying to dodge the issue. And then
but Dustin, before you go on, I'm waiting for the impersonation.
I was late. I actually bought a wig. But let me be clear. There will be a good debate tonight. And let me be clear. It must be done that we do something about the COVID-19 issue and take away the weapons from everybody as soon as I take office.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that good enough?
That is good enough. Okay. So really quick, which I think all of this conversation leads to a question that we have on Facebook comments, actually, from Pastor Sam Jones, who's going to be joining us in the after show tonight. So guys, everybody make sure after the debate, come back here and we'll be back for a live wrap up afterwards with the three of us plus Sam Jones. But his question is, and it's interesting, any concern this goes like Biden versus Paul Ryan debate, where Ryan won in the content, but Biden dominated the mic and won in public opinion? Either of you guys can jump in, but what's your take in comparison with Biden versus Paul Ryan?
I think that's actually a very good point he has there, because Kamala, as I was saying earlier, she dominates this stuff as long as she's in her zone, her comfort zone of being protected. And I think that Pence tends to be widely hated by the left just because of his proclamation of Christianity, and especially because he won't eat with other women in public without his wife.
What a jerk.
Caught a lot of flack for that. So I think that you're going to see a lot of mic domination from Kamala. Absolutely.
What do you think, Shu?
I could see that. The only thing is I think Joe Biden was a better politician than what Kamala Harris was back in the time. Compared to what they are now, I would say it's flip-flopped. I think Kamala is a much better speaker. She's more articulate. Like I said, she's a good liar. And I think that once she gets to the stage, considering that she flip-flops and she can't cling on to these issues yet because they're still trying to reach out to moderate voters, I think she'll end up stumbling and she won't have enough to keep going in that sort of aspect, because she, like I said, when she says something, she throws something out there so that she can get a feel or any reaction. Well, there's kind of it's not a debate like a normal debate than what we've had before. So it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little more difficult for her to read stuff. So she's not going to be able to feel out as much as what she did. And I think she might say a lot of stuff tonight that she might have to go back on later. And given the opportunity to do that, either she's going to blow herself up and she's going to make herself look like an idiot later down the road, or she's really going to have to double down on whatever it is she says, or she'll keep her mouth shut, which I really doubt will happen. But I could definitely see her definitely hogging the podium. But I think Pence being calm and articulate instead of bombastic and interrupting her all the time and everything like that, if he does that, I think he'll come away looking like a more presidential candidate. And he's very fact-driven and policy-driven, which I think will extremely help him when we move forward, because he does have plans. He's been in office. He's part of the task force. He knows exactly what is happening. He's in charge of that, right? So he's going to have all these facts instead of being able to live in some imaginary land where men are women and women are men.
Yeah, which takes us back to, what was that, your first episode when you gave us the science lesson, or was that your second episode, Shu, with the electric cord?
That was my second one. Yeah.
So yeah.
If I have to break it down to the basics.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, and I think that here, let's see here. We're getting another question coming in. Okay, so you guys honestly think? Okay, so looks like it's probably coming from a lefty here. You guys honestly think the lie count will be higher on Kamala's side than Pence's? What do you generally think of the PolitiFact breakdowns?
So he's asking that.
Do we really think that that Kamala Harris lies more than Mike Pence?
I think that Kamala Harris lies a lot more than Pence, because Pence doesn't. I think that Pence avoids telling certain things, but that just comes with part of the job. You can't get out there as a leader and just start blasting everything. I don't think I can never say that he's told any lies. I've been a little bit disappointed of him with his task force, to be honest with you. But I think that he's somebody who's always tried to do a really good job as be as transparent as possible. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, has lied to you about her ethnicity. She's lied to you about the busing with Joe Biden, who now she is the vice presidential candidate with. She's lied to you about how she treats black people while she's put them in jail more than any other prosecutor there in California. So you want to talk about any kind of lie camps? That's the person who is the commanding officer of the lie camp. That's Kamala Harris.
Yeah, well, I think too, it'll be interesting to see Mike Pence in a debate after spending 4 years with Donald Trump, because I feel like in the 2016 campaign, Mike Pence, he was boring. Like every time he gets up, I'm just like, skip, fast forward, come back. We're gonna wait for Trump to come up, right?
Right.
But I do have to say, his speech at the RNC, I was actually very impressed with. I was like, okay, like this, I feel like Trump's starting to rub off on him. So then the question is, we know that Mike Pence, he's going to be a little bit more analytical, dealing with the policy, the specifics, and all that kind of stuff. Can he glean enough of that Donald Trump bombasticness in order to hold his own on stage with somebody like Kamala Harris?
Sure. So, nobody is unbiased, right? Like, we have some news reporters that say that they're unbiased. We just report the news. And that's not how it is. Everybody has a bias because right now our political world is so extremely polarized and it affects every little bit of our lives. So to go to Zach's question in regards to the PolitiFact breakdown and everything like that, it comes down from one side's perception to another side's perception. Like I would say, like PolitiFact is left-leaning, and then you would have someone like the Daily Wire that would be extremely right-leaning. So then it's taking those two together, pitting them against themselves, and finding out what is actual truth. So you read kind of down the center, right? These clips that are then posted, like these 10-second clips or these 20-second clips that are taken out of context or anything like that, just to push a certain narrative. You have to take those clips and you have to watch them in their entirety, and then, because with the context and everything like that, then you can get a full realm of what is actually happening. You can't take anything at face value. Like even something that we might say tonight, I don't expect you to take us at face value at all. I would expect you to go out and do your own research to find out whether what we're saying is actually true or not. And don't go to a specific news source. If their actual feed is there, go to the actual feed. When it comes to court rulings, like what happened with George Floyd, read the court documents. Go back to the actual legitimate source. Become the reporter is what it is. Okay? Because when they take these little snippets or what somebody's saying, like somebody was like, well, I'm having a great day. Somebody could take that and be like, well, that dude's really happy and having a great day, depending on if they're a glass half full kind of guy. And then if the guy's a jerk, and he's like, wow, that guy is a sarcastic jerk, and I don't want anything to do with him. So it's how that person spins whatever it is that they said. Like, what was it with Trump coming out or whatever and saying, like, we have no reason to be afraid of COVID. Well, me being a Republican and I don't, viewing the statistics being like less than 1% of me passing away, I was like, yeah, we need to go forward with our lives. We can't afford to be afraid of COVID. We need to move forward. And I viewed that as him saying that we need to live our lives, we need to get the economy going, and we need to push forward. But somebody on the left in that sort of news group would take that same exact thing and they would say, what? He's saying that COVID isn't a threat to us at all, that it's totally fine to go outside, and we don't have to take any precautions. But if you take that down the center and you take my viewpoint and you cross that over with somebody else's who is over on the left, and you come down the middle where, yes, COVID is a deal. Like, it is something that we need to be aware of, but it's not something that we need to hide under our beds and cry ourselves to sleep because we might die of COVID the next day. But it also doesn't mean we need to go around and giving hugs to everyone, because one, that can get you in prison, and two, you can get COVID. So I think that's where it comes down to the line. So I don't think everybody wants their side to be right 100% of the time. And I think that's foolish. I think we need to see what's really happening and what's really going on and forget about these personalities. We need to forget about Trump, forget about Kamala Harris, forget about them every once in a while. We need to look at the facts for what they are, come down to the base core. Like, you can't break it down any further in what they're saying. And then we need to come together around that. And we need to be like, this is an absolute truth. This is exactly what he's saying in his context. And we need to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Attribute ignorance to, attribute ignorance to malice. So don't always go thinking that somebody's a complete jerk. Maybe they're just dumb.
It's fair. It's fair. And as I believe it's Ron White, the comedian, says, you can't fix stupid. So,
right.
So it's fair. Okay. So debate's starting in 5 seconds or so. So everybody, make sure you go watch the debate. We're going to end this feed. We're going to come back right after the feed, right after the debate. So make sure you guys come back here. We're going to be on Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube for the Gatekeepers. Look it up. We'll be back right after Shu really quick.
Hey, I'm going to post out of a comment. I want you guys all to comment on it on Facebook and on Twitter. I want you guys to come up with questions to get back at us so that we can discuss about them after the debate. Let's hear what you guys have to think.
Sounds great.
Absolutely. So we'll be back afterwards with Sam Jones. Will be joining us as well. And enjoy the vice presidential debate, and we'll see you guys afterwards.